Okay, hi. It's been like a month since I did that, and I don't really remember how to do it. Not like I knew how to do it beforehand. Um, so yeah, so I just finished reading Wuthering Heights, and I just finished like writing a resume, like a review kind of the book, like I always do. And I'm so exhausted. I don't feel like talking more about the book because I just like spent I don't know like 1 hour and a half just like reading and writing what I thought about the book, like the story and what I thought about it, and also like transcribing some commentaries and quotes that I thought were good. So I don't feel like talking about this book, but I will. Okay, I will talk about it, and I just don't feel like recording, but I think that's good enough reason for me to do it. The last video was without a gameplay. I don't think it went really well without a gameplay. I don't think it looked really good. So I'll try to maybe not. Maybe this video has nothing in the background. I know in the perfect world, like in a perfect world, I should show my face and just like do a webcam recording. Maybe someday, maybe at some point, but not now. I don't feel like doing that. So I'll probably just put some gameplay in the background, and that will be it. It's been a while since I spoke English the last time, so I'm kind of rusty. And yeah, it's like a month since I recorded the last video. Yeah, so okay, I took a lot of time to read this book. It's like 400 pages long, but it's not really. It's a really catching book, so you people tend to finish it really quickly. I took a lot longer than expected. Actually, in the beginning, when I just pick up the book, I read a lot in the beginning. Like the first week, I read a lot of the book. I probably like I don't know if I got to the page 100. I don't know more maybe. I don't know. I don't recall. But I know I read a lot in the first week. Then I just like stopped reading for like 2 weeks because I had like tests and exams and stuff like that, and I just like didn't feel like reading. So yeah, I like stopped reading. Kind of in the middle of the book, I stopped reading it, and just like this week, a little before this week, I just to pick it up again and finish it. And wow, this book is interesting. It's really interesting. Okay, it's one of the most interesting books I've ever read. It is not a normal and natural romance that you would expect. Quite the opposite, actually. We see some of the most obscure and dark romances, not dark in the way that people think, like sex and shit, but like dark romance. We're not talking about love in this book, okay? We're talking about obsession. We're talking about vengeance. We're talking about revenge. We're talking about all this bad stuff that could be related with love when it is too much. You know, when love passes the barrier, the fine barrier that you know the coast that one side is like pure beautiful flower like love, hearts and shit, and the other side's just like pain. One thing that comes with love, and I don't remember if my first review I said that. I don't know if it's a quote of the first book, The First Love from Ivan Turgenev. Love comes with pain. I think it is a quote of this book. If not a quote, like the book says that somewhere. You know, love comes with pain. And this book, unlike the other books, unlike normal romances, oh my god, this pronunciation is so bullshit. Focus on the pain side of love. Um, so it's a classic. It was wrote like in the 1800s. I don't know which year, 88. I don't know, but it's awesome. It's really easy to read. I read in a version that didn't have comments, and there was just like a translation. It was pretty fine. It's probably an old translation. It's not like amazing translation, but it's pretty good. and I enjoyed it. I didn't have any comments. I didn't have any side stories. The book I bought just like start with the story, the first page, and wow, it was something. Okay, so as I said, this book is not about love; it's about obsession. We see in this book the story of two families and a guy. I didn't really think if I want to like explain the whole story here, but I'll explain most of it if I found necessary. I'll just and okay, so sorry for discuss. And I don't think I'm gonna explain it. As I said, I don't think I'm gonna explain the whole story, but just like the right parts in the beginning. So we see the story of like a couple that's just like a boy and a girl. They were a son of a guy. I don't know the name. It was the Earnshaw family, and they were Catherine Earnshaw and Hindley Earnshaw, and they lived happy. They lived happy. Their lives was fine. But one day, the father just got. Okay, so I don't know why I'm stuttering. I was fine. Okay, so the father just like went outside of house to work. I don't know, and he came back with a boy. He just like found a poor boy with no name, with no family, just like in the street, and he said he couldn't leave him there, so he took it, and now he is their brothers. The name of the guy they named him Heathcliff in homage. How do you say that? Like in oh my fucking god, in tribute, in homage, in tribute to a guy that has died. Okay, so we have this boy, and like, okay, I'm gonna like speed run the whole story. Okay, just like not the whole story, but like the most important part of it. We see that Heathcliff falls in love with Catherine. Catherine falls in love with him. Hindley starts hating Heathcliff because he's like a poor guy, and he received way too much attention from his father, and he felt like envy towards him. So okay, we have this couple. Then the father died. Hindley became in power because he's the heir, and he like made Heathcliff become a servant and work like in the field. And they separated kind of like Catherine and Heathcliff. And one day Catherine was like saying there was another guy called Linton who lived in another house. There was like a blonde, beautiful, rich guy, and Catherine was like, "Oh my god, I love Heathcliff, but I know I can't have a life with him because I know he's poor, and like all this shit. I can't. I'm gonna fuck my life if I marry him. So I'm gonna be with this other guy, Lito. I should love him. He's caring, he's passionate, he's cute. I should love him. So she's like venting this to Alan, which the kind of the narrator, and when she does that, he was listening and he just flees away and only come back years later. When he comes back, Catherine and Lito are married. This Edgar Lito, okay, the name of the guy. They are married, and now Heathcliff is rich. He came back wealthy, and he decides that his plan now is to seek vengeance because he knows she loves him and that he loves her. And he feels so betrayed by the fact that she doesn't want to leave Linton, or that she actually, in the beginning, she accepted marrying someone who she didn't love. He said that she didn't have the right to do that, She should be with him. So, um, we see that he seeks vengeance and he does a lot of shit. This part of the book, you have to read it. Me explaining it doesn't like serve like not even 1% of the purpose of how cruel and evil this guy can be. At the same time, we feel a little bit of compassion towards him because like because all he suffered with basically no reason. He has no reason to in his childhood like to be a servant and to be humiliated and not have proper education. Like he, we feel compassion towards that, but the amount of cruelty he's capable of is like he spent years to develop his vengeance, and how he handles that with it's like it's surprising. Okay, so he marries the so like okay, so just like speedrun. So like Catherine had like a sister called Isabel Layton. He married her because she loved him, but he didn't love her. But he just wanted to get her, just like to make Catherine suffer and her husband. Just make okay, you make me suffer, you're not gonna be with me, so I'm gonna fuck her life too. So he like fucks the girl's life, says to her he doesn't love her. He marries her, and basically fucks her life, make her feel dog shit and miserable and all the shit. And and yeah, he also just does a lot of things with Catherine head. He's like kind of getting in fights with Catherine, and then they have a lot of discourses and shit. And at some point, Catherine being like crazy because what Linton and Heathcliff were doing to her, she kind of dies. Okay, she becomes sick and dies. She gave birth to a girl before dying, but she dies. And this is like hell to Heathcliff, which now swore that his life will be to torment the ones who made him incapable of loving her. No, sorry, not made him incapable, but making their love unsustainable. So he gonna like make the most vengeance possible that he can do, and he also hates her. Kind of hates her, but kind of loves. It's a really complicated relation, where she says, okay, I don't want you to go away. Even if you be a ghost and torment me for my whole life, I would rather have that than the feeling that you would be gone. So in this book, we see a lot of ghost related stuff and yeah, kind of ghost related stuff. And we see things and people comment that they were like crossing the street and they saw like a couple there. So there's some ghost related stuff. There's some supernatural stuff here. And okay, so what happens next is a little complicated. A lot of things happen, but basically, Hindley had a boy which had Heathcliff tortured, made the boy like just like what Hindley made to him. He made to the boy. So the boy was like uneducated, working the field, was just like dogs alive, and Catherine, the new one, the new Catherine that came from the one that died, grew up and they soon become a couple. Kind of, there's a lot of shit that happens in the middle of that, but they kind of become a couple with the only objective of Heathcliff, like doing that basically. I mean, they loved each other, kinda. I mean, the boy's just a dick. I hate him. The Linton guy, oh my god, so fucking annoying. I hate him so much. Like, he's so the most annoying character in the book. Mm, I mean, Heathcliff is just evil, but he's like another. He's oh my god, so annoying, so fucking annoying. Okay, and she kind of loves him, kind of not too. It's a little complicated, but she kind of loves him, and she marries him, but mainly because Heathcliff forced her to do that because she would then not see her father dying. So it's like it's like torture. He's torturing her, and the reason why Heathcliff wanted them to get married is that when the father died, that he was close to dying, and the boy Linton was also close to die. He knew that when both died, he would heir the whole thing, the whole other place, and he wanted to do that as vengeance. So all this stuff happened. He both died at some point, and the girl was left alone, living in the same house as Heathcliff, Hyraton, which the boy of Hindley, and Joseph, which is like a priest kind of servant there. So yeah, we have like all this awful situation, and what we can see with the situation is that Heathcliff tried to recreate what was his childhood with that. So his wound was so big, he was so hurt by his wound of not being together with Catherine, that he tried to recreate this to a further generation. Okay, but he fails. Okay, the end of the book is surprisingly good. The girl gets with Harrington, even though like they had some disagreements beforehand. Like she made fun of him because he was dumb, and he was also not like the most fun guy. So, but he loved her since the beginning, and then he stopped loving her, but she made him love her again. So like it's like a really complicated situation, but they ended up together. Okay, and Heathcliff dies. Also still thinking about his obsessor, still talking about Catherine. Everything is Catherine. His whole life is Catherine, and that's it. Okay, so that is the resume of the story. So what we can see by that is that the story focuses about obsession and how vengeance is the main aspect that Heathcliff uses to try to fix his broken, to try to fix what is empty inside him. Okay, so before, if you see the story, before Catherine died, uh, he didn't seek real vengeance. I mean, he did bad stuff already, but he didn't seek vengeance in a way that was like cruel and unhuman. I mean, he had Isabel, but after the, I mean, if I'm not wrong, after that Catherine died, that he started being like the whole asshole to her, because he didn't want to be an asshole to Isabel and other people. He didn't seek vengeance to Linton or Edgar Linton or Hindley, because he knew this would hurt his sister, his sister and his lover Catherine. So he didn't want to do that. In protection of her, he chose, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, and it's hard to feel sympathetic towards any character in the book, but they are so imperfect that they are so real. Okay, they are incredibly real. Maybe, I mean, I've read some Dostoevsky stuff, and yeah, I mean, it's really complicated to put that in perspective and like try to figure out which is the one, but uh, they are so real. That's one of the best characters I've ever seen. So they are psychologically so deep. Okay, it's not like a philosophical psychological deep like Dostoevsky's or Tolstoy book, but it's like a, you see the range of emotions they carry inside of them. It's so deep, and you can see how they view the whole world. Like when we see the Isabel arc, and when she runs away from Heathcliff, that happens in the book, and when she runs away from Heathcliff and goes to London, it's so nice to see what she thinks, and she just like expresses it in a way that is so beautiful. It's like pure hate and, and deception and like a a feeling of like, it's such a unique feeling of having love and made and love became hate. Okay, and and Emily Bronte just like does an amazing job of explaining that. It's just an amazing read. You have to read that. Some of the parts of the book that are the most cruel and uncomfortable to read are one of the most beautiful parts of the book, because you can see how deep the characters' emotions are. Like there was she couldn't do that in like another way. She had to put that with that exactly same words when actually Heathcliff is explaining to Isabel that he hated her, and he despised her, and she was like an insect to him. It's so pretty the way he does that. It's so pure evil. It's so pure cruel. You read that with like disgust facing in your face. Okay, a disgust expression in your face. You just, it is so fucking well written. Okay, so and to think that that was written like before, like the expansion of psychology and everything. This book was like so old, and it is just amazing. Okay, that was the only book of Emily Bronte, so it is such a remarkable novel. Okay, it's just incredibly real. I do expect and think to see the movies, and I mean, there's gonna be like a new movie about this some years later, I guess, with the girl Margaret Robbie and Margaret Robbie. I think I saw some news that we're gonna have a movie for Margaret Robbie, and of course I'm gonna watch that. The book's amazing. It's my first experience with like a romance, or like more, I would say pure romance, but it's not like pure romance because it's not about love. I wouldn't say this, but like I tried. Okay, it's like a girl's book. I said, okay, I'm gonna read this girl's book because that was what I thought. It's gonna probably have some hate, some sad stuff here and there, but it's gonna be like a girly book. Like it's like that's what I thought. And I mean, I'm not completely wrong. It is a kind of a girly book, but it's a lot more complex than that. If we want to, we can do like a complete psychological analysis of every character, even the narrator that is Alan. I mean, most of the stories narrated by Ellen. We can like the the bias that she has. We can just like see a whole different story if we look at it with someone else's eyes, you know. So okay, I just okay. So that's basically it. I just like exploited the whole story, but exploiting the whole story, it's pretty bad. You shouldn't read that. Shouldn't listen to that if you haven't read the book. But reading how they do, how the characters interact with each other is just unique. And even if you read that, listen to that, and got spoilers, give it a try. This book is amazing. The way characters express themselves is the prettiest part of the book. Okay, and for now, I'm just gonna take some quotes and comment on them. And yeah, that's gonna be like a short review. And I plan to do more short reviews. And I think I'm not gonna spoil books more. I mean, I kind of did this one, but I didn't like go really deep like I did with Dostoevsky's books. That was a pretty long review. Um, I didn't went pretty deep, but I basically explained the whole story, you know, with like all the major details that are actually important. Now I didn't do that, just like the main plot. So one of the best quotes, just one is good. It talks about the how her love with her love for Linton and her love for Heathcliff are different. So my love for Linton is like foliage in the woods. Time will change it. I'm aware of that. Just as winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Not as pleasure, but necessary. Nelly, I am Heathcliff. He's always on my mind. Not as pleasure. Not as pleasure anymore that I'm always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So don't talk about our separation again. It's impractical. So as we see, we can see this is like a paragraph that is penned to. So it's so pretty. Just so how she it's like up to discussion how she manages these two loves. I didn't think she really loved Heathcliff, and there was a really big mistake she did in when to go in with Linton. But I mean, it makes sense from her perspective. But that choice of her maybe cost her a lot more than she thought it would. At some point, she says that if that wicked man brought Heathcliff so low, I wouldn't hesitate. I wouldn't hesitate. He'll never know how much I love him. He's more myself than I am. Uh, so yeah, this is just like about before Heathcliff left. Okay, and this we're gonna see like a quote that's way later in the book that says, let me just like get. Okay, this is the time that she gets Isabel to marry him just to torture her. The tyrant grinds down his slaves, and they don't turn against him. They crush those beneath them. You can torture me to death for your amusement. I only ask they let me have some fun in the same fashion. If I even thought, uh, if I even thought you really wish me to marry Isabel, I would cut my throat. This is a quote of Catherine complaining about the two fighting. So the two, I mean Edgar Linton and Heathcliff. What a beautiful reward I get for my kindness to each of you. After constantly indulging the weak nature of one and the bad nature of the other. Well, if I cannot keep Heathcliff as my friend, if Edgar is going to be wicked and jealous, I'll try to break their hearts by breaking my own. Oh, I'm burning up. I wish I were outdoors. I wish I were a girl again, half savage and strong and free, laughing at injuries, not maddened by them. Why have I changed so much? Why does my blood boil with just a few words? But do you think this Heathcliff explained to Dean how he loves Catherine more? But do you think I'm gonna leave Catherine to his sense of duty and humanity? Can you compare his feelings for Catherine with mine? And that here's the difference between his feelings and mine. If we traded places, although I hated him with a hatred that turned my life to poison, I would never have raised my hand against him. I would never have kept him away from her if she wished his company. And this quote is really nice that he said, if Catherine forgets him, like forgets about when he went away, if he forget about him. She said, and he laughs at that and said that that's not possible. And if it was possible, then Linton and Hindley would mean nothing. Two words would describe my future: death and hell. My existence after losing her would be hell. This is a quote about when he got Isabel and they were running away, and he hanged, almost killing the little dog. So I hanged her little dog, and when she pleaded for the animal, the first words I uttered were to express my desire, and my desire to hang in everyone who belonged to her, except for one person. She probably thought she probably thought that that exception was herself. Why did you betray your own heart, Caddy? Caddy, that was like the oh fuck, I forgot what is the nickname Catherine had. Why did you betray your own heart, Cathy? You deserve this. You killed yourself. You loved me. What right had you to leave me? Nothing good, nothing God or Satan could conflict would have parted us. But you, out of your own will, your own free will, done it. Catherine Earnshaw, may you not rest as long as I live. You said that this was when Catherine died, and that was what he said to her. Like she was supposed to that, but like that was what he was thinking. Catherine Earnshaw, you may not rest as long as I live. You said I killed you. Haunt me then. The murdered, do they haunt the murderers, I believe. I know ghosts have wandered to the earth. Stay with me, always. Take my form. Drive me mad. Only don't leave me in this abyss where I cannot live with you. uh, this is when Edgar Linton, decided to name her Catherine, the new girl. You know, he named her Catherine, but never called her by her full name. Just as never called Catherine by the abbreviated form, probably because Heathcliff had the habit of doing so. The little one was always called Caddy. This distinction marked a separation between her and her mother, while also highlighting a connection. Its affection for her stemmed more from his relationship with Catherine than for the fact that she was his daughter. And okay, this part's really nice. That talks about how Linton and Hindley shared similar circumstances. That like both the spouses died and they had a child, and they treated the child in a really different way. While Hindley like completely neglected the child, like didn't give as much love as the child needed. Uh, Linton, as in the other hand, like comforted the child and like tried to make the child life the best as he could. So the quote is: Linton, on the other hand, displayed the true courage of a loyal and faithful soul. He believed in God, and God comforted him. One harbored hope, and the other despaired. They chose their own fates, and rightly were condemned to endure them. Uh, okay, this is a quote about what Heathcliff was doing to Harrington, like making him submissive and knowing he likes Catherine. I mean, he kind of knows, kind of not knows, not really clear. I don't think so. But like to make him suffer. I mean, he probably knows the child is like attracted to the girl because she was like really pretty. And he says, I sympathize with his feelings, for I felt them before. But it's only the beginning of what he'll suffer. He'll never rise out of his he'll never rise out of his anticlimax of coarseness and ignorance. I've made him more dependent than his scoundrel, I don't know this word, than his awful father made me, and more degraded because he takes pride in his brutality. Also, it's a really impactful part of the book, the way how Catherine loved her father. And one of the quotes that symbolize that is, I know it, because I pray every night that I live longer than Papa, because I would rather be miserable myself than see him suffer. Uh, and a quote that Heathcliff says when he's like uh, imprisoning Catherine in his home, and she's like complaining that she won't see her father like in basically in his lay of dying. You know, he was like basically dying. He said, Heathcliff said, "I'll take great pleasure in thinking how devastated her father will be. I won't be able to sleep at night for all the satisfaction." So you can see like this pure evil, pure hatred, pure dog shit. And at the end, when he saw that Catherine and Harrington, even though after all his efforts were together, he reaches like there's like a 2 pages conclusion on why he won't act on it. And basically the reason he won't act on it is that he gave up. He doesn't feel like a need to act anymore. He doesn't feel like he had all the power. He has like all the land. He has all the. He's like the richest, the most powerful. He can change and do everything he wants. He can make their lives more hell than ever. But he just chooses to not do it. He gets face looking at Harrington. He remembers Catherine looking at her. He says that everything, the most ordinary faces of men and women, my own features mock me with their likeness. The whole world is a dreadful collection of memories that she really existed and that I love and that I have lost her. So while feeling all this stuff, he just feels and says that. A ridiculous conclusion to all my first efforts. I used levers and pickaxes to demolish both houses, and train both houses being Linton and Earnshaw, and train myself for Herculean tasks. When everything is ready in my power, I discover that the desire to lift a single stone from either roof has vanished. My old enemies have not beaten me. Now is the very moment I could get revenge on their descendants, and no one could stop me. But what good would it do? I have no interest in hurting anymore. Not anymore. So this kind of redemption arc, I feel like he just chooses to not be that evil, and he basically dies. And that's it, guys. This is pretty simple review, but I think this book is amazing. You guys should read it. And I try to speak more slowly in this episode, and I maybe I'll try to do that if it comes out decent. And yeah, I know this episode was a little more, I don't know, stuttery than normal, and like cuffed. I just read that story. I don't know what to talk about because this book's not about like philosophy and other things that I can really rush and talks about what I think. This is really just like a psychological book that you can like see how the characters feel and act with each other. It's really nice, really nice. I really enjoy reading. It's one of the best books I've ever read in my entire life. I plan to keep reading the Family Bronte. Like there's Jane Eyre that is from Charlotte Bronte, if I'm not wrong, and there's like Winterfell something. Is Winterfell? No, Winterfell's for Game of Thrones. It's like it's like some way is the land. Okay, so there's like this. Is Emily Bronte? No, Emily Bronte is this one. It's like another Bronte. I don't know. The Annie Bronte? I don't know. The other one has also a pretty popular book that people talk is really good. So I plan to read that. It was really interesting. I plan to read like I went to read Pride and Prejudice and other normal kind of romances, but this one was really a good. I really enjoyed it. It was a really a good site, kind of deep, profound, and made me think a lot. And I really enjoyed reading it. It's really catchy, really catchy. When you read it, you can't really stop. So that's it. Thank you guys. Bye bye.